Hey, Tamara Tamu here. Welcome back to another episode of Unleashed Alchemy, where on this channel we talk about stepping into your sovereignty so that you can bring the unseen into the scene. Okay, welcome back. We have an episode that I've been wanting to bring to you for quite some time and didn't know how to really present it. So sometimes you just have to throw it out there and see what happens. So, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about why rituals and spells get a bad rap. All right. But first, if you haven't checked out my website, unleashedalchemy.com, there are several ways that you can work with me as you step into your sovereignty. Support is necessary. It is. It is very necessary, especially when you are breaking out of programming and you are stepping into your goddess and God consciousness. You can work with me one-on-one by either doing a one-time session, which is 75 minutes, or you can sign up to work with me for a 12-session package. I also have a magic school, which is a monthly membership where you have access now to over 20 hours of not just workshops or videos. These are transformational sessions, okay, that will liberate you. All right. And we're not talking about a whole bunch of time here because you don't need a whole bunch of time to be liberated, but it will liberate you so that you can step into your sovereignty with full confidence. Let's get in today's episode. So what I am seeing right now is that there is this messaging, and perhaps it's always been around. I'm sure it has. But for some reason, I feel like it's in everyone's face. And what is that messaging? That messaging may sound like this, and I'm going to read you some quotes. These quotes are coming from what I hear people saying and what I have seen written. So here's the first one. That woo-woo stuff is impractical. How many of you have heard that? The woo-woo stuff is fluff. And you hear this next one when people are trying to or attempting to sell programs and sell their offers on introducing a new strategy for you to use in your life, business, whatever. And they'll say something like, I'm not just going to give you woo-woo. I'm going to tell you exactly what to do. And another one I've heard, I tried the rituals, spells, and the magical stuff, and none of that worked. So I'm going to give you practical steps. Now, those quotes and they're different iterations of those quotes, but it's all the same. And here's why those messages are not helpful. They are harmful. So let's talk about why. The first thing I want to say is this. A spiritual path, your spiritual path, it involves self-actualization. If we just want to put a summary on it, your spiritual path should be leading you to self-actualization. Now, before you get to self-actualization, what has to happen? Self-actualization involves you embracing your goddess, God power, your goddess consciousness, your God consciousness. And this is not about some being in the sky. This is you, within you, accessing your cosmic self, your cosmic soul that transcends all. Self-actualization involves you stepping into and knowing who you are as a sovereign being. You came into this world as a free, liberated, elevated, sovereign being. Now, stepping into this sovereignty involves you uncovering, acknowledging, and severing the blocks that kept your sovereign ID covered and hidden in the first place. Uncovering blocks involves acknowledging chaos. What does that chaos include? That internal chaos. It includes limited programming that you have been operating from. Acknowledging chaos involves looking at those energies that have kept you living at a certain level that is below your highest expression. That is the part that people miss. That is the part that people skip over, that people skip over intentionally or unintentionally. They don't know that they're skipping over something. Because a lot of people, what happens is they start to have these awakenings and they want to just jump into a spiritual practice. They want to just jump into spells and rituals and crystals. And all of those are beautiful tools. But we cannot skip over. Why do we skip? Why do we feel like we want to skip over uncovering chaos and uncovering blocks? Because we already intuitively know that to do that, it will bring up pain. It will bring up trauma. It will bring up those emotions that feel uncomfortable. Emotions like anger, guilt, shame, hate, jealousy, rage. It will bring up those emotions. Again, doing that will bring up emotions and thoughts to the surface that we have either ignored or attempted to manifest away or spell away or ritual away. So before we continue, I want to go back to the woo-woo phrase. So most of the time when people are referring to woo-woo, okay, most of the time they're referring to the metaphysical. They are referring to rituals. They are referring to spells. They are referring to magical practices. They are referring to indigenous ancient spiritual practices. Those are tools, important tools. Again, I'm going to emphasize this and I'm going to say this repeatedly. Those are tools that are that are necessary. They are very effective because they move us into the ethers. They take us beyond what's on the surface and they move us into the cosmos, into the ethers that we've always had access to. They move us beyond the physical. And it moves us into realms that cannot be measured with our programmed sense of how we measure things, like, for instance, time or using a calendar. Once we start tapping into those tools, we literally move beyond that. And yet at the same time, we're still on this physical plane. So instead of people saying, well, I don't quite understand how that works, they'll just put a silly label such as woo-woo. This is the same, we can view this in the same way that we view when you hear people that dump anything that is not religion, any type of practice that is not a religious practice. They will, ironically, put all of that into a bucket of witchcraft. And I've talked about this before. So I want to say this. People who use the phrase woo-woo, many of them, I would say, I would venture off to say most of them are not clear of the foundational aspects of spirituality. They are not clear about the foundational aspects of rituals and spells, because if they truly understood the nature of them in their purest form, if they understood that metaphysics, rituals, and spells have their roots in nature, they have their roots in ancient wisdom. If they understood that rituals and spells are ancestral, and I'm not talking about just a few years back, I'm talking about thousands of years, thousands, then they wouldn't be so quick to diminish those practices to a new age, mindless, spiritless, silly label such as woo-woo. Now, I know I said a lot there, so you may want to rewind, go back. Now, this video, now that I'm getting to the next part, this video is probably going to be several videos. So, before I end this one, let me tell you why people conclude that rituals and spells don't work. So you remember how I said that your spirituality, the purpose of spirituality, to me, one of the most important things to know about spirituality is that it places you on a path of uncovering, discovering, oftentimes rediscovering ideas, thoughts, and programming that you have been operating from that are misaligned with your soul. So, what I just said is a mouthful to say that spirituality leads you to your true identity. All right. And so that is where I'm going to stop this video. Come back for the next part of this, and we are going to still get into exploring why rituals and spells get a bad rap. I'm talking about this because I want you, before I end this first part, I want you to understand that going internal, knowing who you are as a sovereign being, being confident in that, you will not be rattled by those messages. You will be very clear on who you came here to be as a spiritual being having this physical experience. You will be very clear on how to integrate the practices that you are to integrate based on your lineage, based on the codes that are in your DNA, based on the mysteries that are already encoded in your DNA. You already know how to be a spiritual being. It is already a part of you. So when you are confident in that, you will not be rattled by someone telling you or hearing messages of someone saying, well, rituals and spells is woo-woo. It's not practical. It very much is practical. It is practical to your being. It is practical to your expression and how you show up in this physical life. Your spirituality functioning in your true identity is what keeps you grounded. So, until next time, cheers.